Welcome to Vintage SF. I'm Richard Rempel. Today we're going to take a look at the fifth book in the A Science Fiction Specials Series 3. It is Them Bones by Howard Waldrop, 1984. As with the first four, Terry Carr has an introduction to the novel. Howard Waldrop's Them Bones is the only novel in this series that isn't strictly speaking a first novel. 10 years ago, Waldrop co-authored The Texas-Israeli War, 1999, with Jake Saunders. But this is Waldrop's first solo novel. During the past decade, Waldrop has been busy writing a long string of outstanding short stories, including The Ugly Chickens, for which he won both the Nebula and the World Fantasy Award. Them Bones is as unusual as all the rest of Waldrop's work. It's a novel that combines well-researched backgrounds, quirky speculation, and Waldrop's irrepressible brand of humor in a story of adventure in our real past and a very odd alternative history. Starting in a blighted near future from which an expedition is sent into the past, it tells us about North America as it was and as it might have been. You haven't seen as believable a picture of early Amerindians anywhere as Waldrop presents here. And you've rarely been given such a complex interplay and contrast of cultures. Howard Waldrop, September 15th, 1946 to January 14th, 2024. Waldrop spent most of his life in Texas. As a child, he corresponded with the Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin about their shared love of comic books. He was a member of the Turkey City Writers' Workshop and taught at the Clarion Workshop. He was a frequent attendee of Armadillo Con, the local science fiction convention held annually in Austin. He was the Toastmaster of the inaugural Armadillo Con in 1979. If you want to learn more about Howard Waldrop, there is a great remembrance video from Armadillo Con 2024. I'll put a link for that page in the description for this video. Waldrop's stories combined elements such as alternate history, pop culture, the American South, old movies, classical mythology, and rock and roll music. One of his stories, Night of the Cooters, is a pastiche of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, told from the perspective of a small-town Texas sheriff, an homage to Slim Pickens, who faces a Martian cylinder crashing down near his town. Howard Waldrop died on January 14th in Texas of a stroke. He was 77 years old. George R.R. Martins, in his blog, says, "The world got a little darker then. Their friendship began in high school." But what of today's novel, Them Bones? Our protagonist is lost in time, a moment of existential fear, then it passed. I'm Madison Yazoo Leak. I was not new at this sort of thing. I was in the Cyprus War 10 years ago in 92, if you want to call what I did being in a war, interrogating Cypriots in internment camps. I never pulled a trigger, thank God, except on the firing range. I was from a bombed-out time in which everybody would eventually die from radiation, from disease, from chemicals. We, the special group, were on a last-chance attempt to keep the human species of the Earth from dying out completely. We were transported through the magic of unperfected, barely tested one-way time travel, ostensibly to the past, where we hoped to stop World War III before it started. I was, in effect, a point man. I was a draftee in the Cyprus War, and everybody was a draftee in World War III. Them Bones has what I like to call a braided plot, but it's a little bit different. There's 3 storylines, and they don't meet. They don't come together like a braid would. The A-plot is set in 1929, where archaeologists in Louisiana are excavating a mound of the Coles Creek culture. They encounter the skeleton of a horse, a seeming impossibility as the mound predates the reintroduction of the horse into North America. What's more, the archaeologists discover that the horse has been shot. This is something that wasn't of that time, and even more anachronistic, they find a corroded brass rifle cartridge. Plot B is a first-person narrative of Madison Yazoo Leak. He's sent back in time in an attempt to stop the destruction of the human race in a nuclear war. Leak comes to realize that he has missed his time target by quite a bit, and he's not even sure if this is the reality that he came from. The C-plot is based on the diary entries of Warrant Officer Smith, another member of the special group. She arrives with the rest of the military team and CIA personnel in what apparently is their timeline, only hundreds of years earlier than intended. Through her diary entries and the count of those members present for duty, the story of the interactions with the local natives in their pre-Columbian world is told. Will they succeed in their mission? Can they prevent World War III? Will the archaeologists from 1929 be able to decipher the mystery of the time travelers? This was a very entertaining time travel story. I was invested in all three storylines. I think this book is one of the highlights of the Ace Science Fiction Specials Series 3. I will be looking for the short stories of Howard Waldrop. I give Them Bones 8.5 out of 10. Really very, very entertaining. So have you read stories by Howard Waldrop? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, keep reading.